What's up guys, it's your girl Miss and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you guys are watching right now, yes, I'm doing my most requested video, which is why and how I left home. To be completely honest, this video is just going to be why I left home, and maybe I'll do another few parts on other things like how I left home, the day I left home, etc. Otherwise, this one video, if I did all of them in one, would be like 10 hours long. But yeah, today mainly I'm going to focus on letting you guys know why I left home and just some clarification on some rumors that people have put out there about what they think my reasons are for leaving home, which I know is really weird, but I also understand why people may want to make up rumors because, you know, I don't really speak on these type of things, and so when you don't talk, people assume. So the only thing I can do is go ahead and correct people. I personally feel like I held back on this video for a very long time, only because it's only recently I felt at peace and felt as if like I've completely healed from my past, only because I do suffer from a lot of mental issues and physical issues which are because of trauma that I've faced within my past. Just to clarify, it's like PTSD, seizures, anxiety, panic attacks. It's not nice, it's not fun, but I don't show that side to me on camera because I feel like it's not necessary. It's something that I go through personally, and I'm just gonna have to find a way myself to deal with them. But yeah, I mean, it's been 2 years since I left home, and I feel like I've learned a lot about myself, my mental illnesses, and like I've taken the time to kind of really understand why they happen. I've come to peace with myself. You know, I don't know how long I will go through all of these mental illnesses, but the only thing that I can do is kind of prevent them and understand them and learn how to control them. I feel like now if I speak about something and I feel like it's getting overwhelming, or I feel like I might have a panic attack, or I might become overly anxious and emotionally explode, I will know when to stop myself from a conversation, walk away, and then come back to it and carry on type thing, which is why I'm finally sitting down tonight and filming this particular video. Just to get into the story time finally, after rambling on about mental illness. I actually left home twice. So the first time I left, I was 18 years old. It was more so basically the same reasons as to why I left the second time as well. The first time I left, the night before, I actually had a really big argument with my family, and the next day I just thought I've had enough, and I went to uni and I made sure to take all of my things. I managed to sneak them out, and I decided that I wasn't going to go back home. That night a lot had happened. I mean, obviously it was my first time leaving home. I was very scared. The police was called on me. I was reported as a missing person. It was just all very overwhelming because, bear in mind, I had never been given the freedom to understand how life works in general, which is one of the reasons as to why I left, because I feel like I was very restricted. I was kept within the four walls of my home a lot of the time, and as a female I wasn't able to do a lot of things, like even simple things like going to the cinema with my cousins, or let's say I wanted to go bowling or I wanted to do a certain activity. Most of the time the answer would have been no. Like it was almost as if I wasn't allowed to have fun, or if I was to just sit and laugh, it would be frowned upon, and I just didn't understand why. And I was just like, maybe they just hate me. And all of the emotions that I was put through and all of the hurtful words that were said to me built up within me, and I was just like, you know what, there comes a time where someone can only take so much, and mentally it just becomes too much, and I decided to leave. That night I stayed in a hotel. I only had around about £800, I think it was £800 in my bank account, and I went to a hotel in Clapham and I dropped this big message to my family, and I was like, look, I don't like the way that my life is right now. I'm very upset with the way that I've been treated. There's so much to life that I, as an adult at 18 years old, have been restricted to do. and I feel like I'm entitled to have freedom and to kind of live my life to the fullest, even if it's on my own, because you clearly won't let me. So yeah, I sent them that big message, and I think I even said something like I'm gonna go to America because I have an opportunity there, just so that they wouldn't come to look for me within the UK. Because me not being smart enough, I thought that if I said that I'm going to the US, they would probably like give up and be like, oh no, she's gone too far now, we won't go look for her type thing. But no, I was wrong. You know, the police was definitely called. I was reported as a missing person, and they definitely did call me. But obviously I was 18, and in the UK that's a legal adult, and so I'm entitled to kind of do whatever I want, to be honest. And I just felt very, very, very uncomfortable being there. I just was going crazy. So yeah, I thought I made the right choice, but obviously a few weeks went by. It was very weird now that I'm thinking about it, that they had all of my friends' contact written in their phones. They used to confiscate my phone all the time. They used to take a lot of my things and not let me use them, or I wasn't allowed to watch certain shows at the age of 18. Like, I just found it very weird. But yeah, they called one of my friends that I was actually staying with, and they managed to convince me that if I came home, that they will make amends with me and that they will accept who I am, and they'll kind of live with me as the person that I am, you know, let me do whatever I want to go ahead and do, and they'll be here for it type thing. I'm not gonna lie, I went back after 2 weeks of leaving the first time. It seemed as if I was living in a dream. It literally felt like I was in that movie Get Out, because it was such a fake environment. All of a sudden they were acting overly nice, and it was very scary to me, and that literally added to me not wanting to be there even more, because now I was like, oh great, now they're fake. And I'm not gonna lie, I was fooled on numerous occasions to believe that everything will be okay, and it definitely wasn't going to be okay, because literally a week after I went back home, everything went back to normal again, and it was almost like I never left home. Once again, I was restricted to do a lot of things, and I was just drained. I wasn't allowed to do the things that I wanted to do anymore. All of a sudden, once the police was out of the picture, life was back to normal again, and that's when I was like, oh great, it's going to be even harder trying to find a way to leave the second time, because now that I've left the first time, they're gonna, you know, be like hawks on me to ensure that I don't do anything crazy. So yeah, and they did. They took my passport away immediately when I came back home the first time. They took my birth certificate, they took all my qualification certificates, and they hid them from me. And then basically one day the police came over to kind of do like an interview with me, because they saw that I left home, and on the phone at the time when I left home I said, I just don't feel comfortable there, I don't want to be there, and they were like, okay, fair enough, and they closed the case and let me off. They came over to the house and they wanted to ask me, like, you know, if everything was okay and what was the reasoning. And the reason as to why I left home then when I was 18 was because I was commuting a very long distance all the way to university, and it took me, I would wake up very, very early to make a 9 a.m. lecture. So I'd commute from Peterborough to London, and my tickets used to be £45 a day. And so financially, for a female who wasn't allowed to have a job, it was a lot on me. It got to a point where the commute just got too much. I'll even end up getting to my 9 a.m. lectures a bit late, and because it was already a subject I didn't really want to do and I didn't enjoy, it just built up within me, and I just had given up. I was like, you know what, I don't want to do this career anymore. And that brings me on to my second reason as to why I left as well. It was also because I wasn't allowed to stay in accommodation. One, because as a female I wasn't allowed to, but my brother was. I don't understand why. Second of all, it was because I wasn't being financially supported. My student finance definitely wasn't enough for a student to be spending £45 a day, 5 days a week, to go to university and come back home. Number three, it was also because of my mental illness, which at the time was just depression. I feel like after I left home, I even ended up having more mental illnesses, like I mentioned earlier on. But at the time, it was depression, and I was heavily depressed. I was also very suicidal because I just didn't like the way I was living life, because it wasn't the way I wanted to live. It was more so a life I was living to impress my parents. And so yeah, I became very depressed. I mean, when I was younger, I was studying for my GCSEs, which funnily enough, I didn't pick myself. My older sister decided to go ahead and pick my GCSEs and made me do it. I think I did geography, history, and classics. And bear in mind, I hate history, I hate classics. And geography was probably the only subject that I was somewhat miraculously good at. And I just ended up doing subjects I didn't enjoy doing. And I'm not gonna lie, at the time, I thought, great, I have no choice. So I feel like from a young age, it was kind of engraved in me that, oh my God, I'm not going to be allowed to do what I enjoy. They're going to kind of pick it for me. And I'm just going to have to go along with the flow, otherwise they won't love me, or I'll get or they're gonna hate me, or they're gonna bully me. Do you know what I mean? So it was very, very, very difficult. Because by the time I got to A levels, I was also very heavily depressed, and I was studying biology, chemistry, and religious studies. Religious studies, don't get me wrong, I really, really, really enjoyed, because I actually chose that subject myself, because I was doing maths first and I was like, hell no, it's too much for me. So I switched maths for religious studies, and I was like, okay, cool. But yeah, other than that, it was just all very, very, very stressful. And I was just really overwhelmed with life in general, I think, because A levels were difficult as they were in itself. And when I went home, I was just made to do things that will hinder me from actually studying enough. Because I feel like most of my life at home was study, sleep, listen to your parents, go to school. Like, my life was very, very, very repetitive, and my social life just wasn't there. Like, I had no social life at all. Even if it was with my cousins, I wasn't allowed to go to the cinema with my cousins very often. Only time that I would be able to go is like if they were around our house, and I'd be like, oh yeah, can I go to the cinema? And then she would be there in front of me, and they're like, oh yeah, okay, you guys can go. But then I would literally get shouted at when I come home from the cinema, and they'll be like, oh yeah, you weren't allowed to go, next time don't you ever dare ask, da da da. I was like, okay, whoa, okay. So now I can't even hang around with my cousins either. But not only that, I wasn't even allowed to go to a friend's house. I wasn't allowed to chill with friends after school. I wasn't allowed to go to the shops on my own. Even when I was 18, like, I had never been to a birthday party until after I left home, to be honest. My first birthday party was a friend of mine's birthday accommodation, which was very lit. But other than that, I'd never, like, my childhood was just very bad, and it added to the depression. And it wasn't just because I was depressed because of my lifestyle, it was also because the career I chose, one, I didn't really like it at all. I was more of a creative, I wasn't more of an academic person. I absolutely hated science, by the way, but I had to kind of force myself to love it, otherwise I'd think, oh, they won't love me. I remember one day I told my mum, I was like, look, I'm really depressed. And I just started bawling, I started crying, and she said to me something along the lines of, only whores get depressed. And I was just like, damn. And I remember I was downstairs alone with her, and I was just like, shit. And that shit right there stuck with me for a very long time. Even till now, I won't forget it. It was almost as if everything that I'll tell her, like from my heart, emotionally, like about my mental health, it would just go out the window. And that was also another reason, because I was like, you know what, if my own mum is not going to understand my mental health, then I'm going to have to take matters into my own hands and actually care for myself. Because instead of me eventually committing, because I was very at the point to where I was actually stopped at the train station by someone, I was like, you know what, F that. I can actually stop myself from feeling this type of way if maybe I leave and I live my own life, and I'll be a lot happier. Because when I got to uni, I also started, having a tiny bit of a social life, and I learned that a lot of other people that were my age mates were a lot more free. Yeah, they had boundaries, but they were certainly more able to, like, for example, get a part-time job, or as a female go out whenever they wanted. They'd have a curfew, but they would at least be able to go out. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, it was just all like a mishmash of different reasonings as to why I left home the first time. Mainly because the environment I was brought up in was just very toxic, and the way that I was treated as well from my siblings alongside my mom and dad, I just thought it was really revolting, and it just didn't make me feel happy whatsoever. So yeah, that was when I first left home. Obviously things went downhill when I went back, because they literally took my passport, everything off me, and they were like, yeah, okay, cool. So when the police came over and they interviewed me, I obviously was really scared, because I was like, first of all, there's no chance of me being able to run away again. Second of all, if I do go ahead and speak up on the situation and be like, oh yeah, I'm depressed and they don't love me, like, it could go further and it could be more of an extreme outcome, and maybe the kids may be taken off my mum. But yeah, I thought it would become more extreme, and I thought that social services will get involved and take my mum's kids away from her and kind of segregate them, etc. And I didn't want that to happen, because to be completely honest, the kids seemed fine. Everybody else in that house was very happy with their standard of living, and I was like, but why not me? Like, if everybody else is okay with it. But then I realized they actually did a lot of things to me and put a lot of pressure on me without realizing. I just felt unaccepted in that household. But yeah, it was just a really messed up environment all in all. And when it came to speaking to the police, the only thing that I mentioned was like, look, I commute long hours to university, I literally hallucinate, and I kid you not, I literally used to see people walking down the middle of the train and then literally blink and there will be nobody there, and it would literally be me hallucinating. So I explained that to the police. I was like, look, please, I literally pleaded to the police officer to tell my parents to let me stay in university accommodation, otherwise I'll just literally go mad. And so that kind officer definitely did go ahead and do just that, which I'm super grateful for, because if it wasn't for him, I feel like my family wouldn't have listened to me whatsoever. That year, I think I only spent 2 months at home after that interview with the police officer, and then I ended up going to university accommodation. There I kind of made up my mind, okay, look, I'm not going to go back. I realized I didn't have a passport, I didn't have my birth certificate, I didn't have anything, so I kind of had to stay in a com, put my thoughts together, find a way to make money and get myself a new passport so I could get a job. After I left home for a couple of months, I kind of avoided them a lot. I stopped speaking to them completely, like halfway through the year when I was 19. And that's also when I met Vic, and that's when Vic also started coming to my accommodation, and you know, we got close. And at the time, he was my only happiness. Like, I don't think I was ever happy until Vic came into my life. I feel like if it wasn't for him, I probably would still be depressed, because I remember times before when I first left home and I'd be in my accommodation, I'd just sit there crying, drinking my pain away, to be honest, and it wasn't very healthy whatsoever. Yeah, I did have friends as well, but I mean, they all study as well and they actually enjoy the degrees they were doing, so I was just in a situation where I was just completely stuck. But yeah, that's also going to bring me to my first point to clarify. No, I didn't leave home when I met Vic. I didn't leave home because of Vic. I left home because of the reasons I've mentioned prior, and because of my relationship with my family and the environment I was brought up in. It was just unhealthy living with the people I was living with. I believe there's a lot of people that love saying on TikTok in particular that, oh my gosh, she left for a man. She left her whole family for a man. And I promise you, if my family were very understanding, they were kind-hearted, they were loving, they cherished me for whatever I did in life, no matter what, whether I followed a career path they would want me to do or not, like, I promise you, I wouldn't leave family for no man. But it's the fact that I genuinely had a really bad relationship with my family all in all that I left, not because of Vic. So for those of you that love commenting on TikTok saying, oh, I can't believe she left for a man, honey, I literally left like a year or so. No, it wasn't even a year, it was like a couple of months. I think because the duration of me meeting Vic and me leaving home was so close, people like assume that I guess I understand why people think that, but no, I didn't leave because of Vic. Vic came after. I'm completely grateful, but other than that, yeah, I didn't. Funnily enough, Vic and I got together like a couple of months after I left home, and he ended up helping me buy a new passport, which was super kind of him. He didn't need to, but he helped me get a new passport so that I could actually start applying for jobs, which I don't understand for any reason why he even did that, but then obviously we got more close and close every single day, and I guess he saw my situation and physically how my mental health was being affected from my family members and how scared I was, and so him just being in my life was just a blessing in itself. But yeah, I mean, he helped me get my passport. I got a new one. I mean, even the picture that I have now is literally ridiculous. I look so bummy in it. I literally look like a girl that's left home. For real. Yeah, I got my passport, and then after that I just completely cut ties with them, and I don't think I've ever felt so happy, so free, so at peace after I left, because I'd walk outside, like a simple walk outside by myself. I'd be like, wow, this is the world that was being hidden from me. There's so much beauty in this world, and it was literally for 18 years of my life, I was restricted doing so many things, and I was just like, you know what, I'm definitely not going back. So yeah, those were the main reasons as to why I left home. Just for clarification, no, I didn't leave for a man. No, I didn't leave just because I'm some stubborn female. There's actually a lot more to it. Obviously, I don't want to go into detail and say anything that could possibly, you know, cause issues. But yeah, it was a very traumatic experience. It was the most scared I'd ever been in my life, leaving home. But what I would say is that if you are gonna leave home, please make sure you have a job already, because me, I don't even know where I'd be if it wasn't for Vic and him helping me. I honestly don't know where I would have been. But I guess, you know, God has his plans, and that was his plan for me, and I'm super happy for it. But yeah guys, that was basically why I left town. Just to like make it very brief, it was because I was very restricted. My mental health was taken as a joke. I was in a really toxic environment. I used to get physically and mentally abused, and I just wasn't treated like a human, to be honest. But yeah, I'm super happy where I am in life now. All I ever wish for is just to be happy and be able to do things freely. But yeah, I mean, after I left home, the first tattoo, funnily enough, was this one over here, which basically says freedom with a little bird flying, because that's literally how I felt when I left home. But after that, I never looked back, and I learned from the mistake of going back the first time and just said, no, don't go back. You can't go back. And I guess it definitely worked out. So if you're watching this and you're going through a hard time and you feel like you're gonna have to go back to an environment you weren't comfortable in just to be safe, or just to feel like you've got a roof over your head, I promise you, I only recently learned that there's actually a lot of charities out there that help individuals who do end up homeless. Because when I was homeless, I'm not gonna lie, I was lucky to have even had a friend who was willing to let me stay at their place, because if it wasn't for my friend, eventually I would have run out of money and been on the streets, to be honest. So shout out to that friend who helped me out the first time I left home, and of course shout out to my amazing partner Vic for helping me out the second time. The craziest part is I actually ended up moving in with Vic that same year because he wanted to help me out, and ever since never been apart. It ended up from me planning to leave, just temporarily staying at his, to us actually ending up together, never leaving each other's side, which is so crazy. But yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will definitely make a part 2 on the day I left home and what actually went down, etc., and the friends I encountered that weren't really friends, what to look out for if you do go ahead and take those steps in life. But yeah, just know that I'm always here if you want to go ahead and send me a message on Instagram, especially if it's to do with, you know, what you're going through right now in life. Just know it's going to be okay, and you can speak to me. I know a lot of creators like acting bougie and not responding to people's DMs, but I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I get a lot of requests and I genuinely don't see messages like that, so I don't even get to respond. But whenever I have time, just know that I'll always see a message and respond to you if I feel like I can give you some sort of advice. But other than that, I will see you guys on my next video. Once again, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I hope you all have an amazing day or night.